Did you know that the Emperor Hadrian was well known for his violent temper? Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly and today's video is all about the restless Roman emperor who spent more time traveling than he did in Rome. Today we are looking at the life and reign of Hadrian. Don't forget, the easiest way to support us is by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, and hitting that bell icon for notifications so you don't miss out on any new uploads. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation and you can find us on Patreon, a brilliant site where you can support our work and receive exclusive benefits in return. Your support helps us create videos every week, so make sure to check it out via the pop-up in the top corner of the screen or via the Patreon link down below. Hadrian was born in the town of Italica, Hispania, known today as Seville in Spain, and grew up well-educated as a son of upper-class Romans. At 10, his father died and Hadrian was sent to a school in Rome under the care of Trajan, who would soon become the next emperor of Rome. Trajan's wife Plotina was fond of the young Hadrian, and she encouraged him in his keen interest in Greek poetry and culture. Hadrian admired Greece so ardently that he is even now often mistakenly identified as being Greek or of Grecian lineage. Under the Emperor Nerva, who reigned between 96 and 98 CE, Hadrian was a tribune as his first stint in the military, and was selected for the important job of telling Trajan that he was Nerva's successor. Trajan, as the next emperor of Rome, was actually the first emperor to have been born in the provinces, and although later biographers tried to place the birth of both Trajan and Hadrian in the city of Rome, they were both born in modern-day Spain. In 117 CE, Trajan died while on campaign, and at the time of his death, while Hadrian was in command of the rear guard, it's not believed that Trajan had actually named a successor. It was actually Plotina who signed the papers of succession, claiming that Trajan had selected Hadrian. So, although it is known that Trajan respected Hadrian and considered him his successor, he had not named him officially as his heir. And it seems Plotina was responsible for the adoption of Hadrian. At about 100 CE, there seems to have been some sort of dispute between the two men, and although there is no documentation for it, after the argument, Trajan refused to elevate Hadrian's rank, and the positions he did give the boy just so happened to remove him from the emperor's immediate circle. It has been suggested that the rift was caused by Hadrian seducing or trying to seduce one of the emperor's favourite young men, but this is just speculation. Lucky for Hadrian though, Plotina was a driving force behind his advancement, and both Plotina and Trajan's niece, Salonia Matidia, pushed for Hadrian's marriage to Matidia's daughter, Vibia Sabina. Since Hadrian preferred the company of men, his marriage never really flourished, and he was a much better ruler than he was a husband. As a man who had served in the military prior to becoming Emperor of Rome in 117 CE, he already had the support of the army upon his ascension to the throne. Hadrian was embraced by the people of Rome and was greatly admired throughout his reign. He continued to be highly regarded even though he spent 12 of his 21 years as ruler outside of Rome, something that other emperors were criticized harshly for, like Nero, who spent far less time away from the city than Hadrian did. Hadrian showed his devotion to his army by sleeping and eating with the common soldiers, and even though his reign was marked by relative peace, he was often depicted in military attire. Since the empire was fairly stable during his reign, Hadrian spent much of his time visiting the provinces of Rome and inspecting the projects he had commissioned, the projects that have become probably his most enduring legacy. Hadrian established cities, improved roads, raised monuments, and strengthened the infrastructure in the Roman provinces of Egypt, Asia Minor, North Africa, Greece, and through the Balkan Peninsula. He ended up visiting Greece twice, and during one of those times, he he was initiated into the Eleusinian mysteries, and in his honour the Arch of Hadrian was constructed by the Athenian citizens in 131 and 132 CE for his substantial contributions to the city, like the Temple of Zeus. Back in Rome, Hadrian had the Pantheon rebuilt after it was destroyed by fire, as well as Trajan's Forum, and commissioned the building of many villas and Roman baths. No building project of Hadrian's is as famous as his wall, known in antiquity as Vallum Hadriani, but famously known today as Hadrian's Wall in England. The construction of this wall began when he visited Britannia in 122 CE after a revolt had been put down, and it was built in order to stop the northern Picts from easily invading his territory. It worked as a marker for the northern point boundary of Rome in Britain, but its sheer length and breadth was intended more as a show of Rome's power than a fortified boundary. Hadrian's Wall stretched across 120 kilometres or 73 miles and took 6 years to build. Along the wall there were 16 or 17 fortifications and a ditch purposefully constructed of earthworks and known as a vallum, which ran parallel along the length of the wall. The wall was initially plastered and whitewashed and was thought to represent the might of the empire and Hadrian's foreign policy of peace through strength. After visiting Britannia, Hadrian travelled to Asia Minor, and while in the region of Bithynia in 123 CE, either in Nicomedia or Claudiopolis, he met the young Antinuous, who became his constant companion. Antinuous would have been somewhere between 13 and 15 years old at this time, but the same-sex relationship between a younger and older man was accepted in Rome as long as it was consensual. For the next 7 years, they were in a serious committed relationship, despite Hadrian being married. Hadrian sent Antinuous to a boarding school in Rome that trained him for life in court, and between 125 and 130, the two of them lived in Hadrian's villa in Rome, while the two weren't travelling the provinces. Antinuous accompanied Hadrian on his travels, and in October of 130, they arrived in Egypt for the festival of Osiris. At the end of the month, Antinuous drowned in the Nile, and although Hadrian reported it as an accident, historians have claimed that the youth sacrificed himself in a ritual to cure Hadrian of an unknown illness. This latter claim is strengthened by the policy that Antinuous, as Hadrian's beloved, would have been accompanied by servants who would have surely saved him if he had accidentally fallen into the Nile. Hadrian's grief over the death of his lover was overwhelming, and he immediately had the youth deified, which was somewhat unprecedented, since usually you would have to submit the suggestion for the Senate to approve. Hadrian went further and had a city named Antinopolis built in his honour, and very quickly a cult around Antinuous grew in the city and spread throughout the provinces. He was seen as a dying and reviving god, and was thought, since he was once human, to be quicker at responding to supplications than other deities. His likeness was raised in temples and shrines, and of the estimated 2,000 statues of Antinuous that once graced the empire, 117 have been recovered. His cult grew to be so popular that even 200 years later, it rivaled both the well-established cult of Isis and the new religion of Christianity. Hadrian continued to travel through the provinces, dealing with his grief. Despite being well educated and known for his policy of peaceful relations, he was equally well known for losing his temper. He lost patience with scholars at court and even accidentally blinded a servant in one eye when he threw his stylus at him in rage. This kind of outburst became infamous during his time in Jerusalem. Hadrian visited the city in 132 CE. The city was in ruins still after the First Roman-Jewish War, and so he had the city rebuilt and named it after himself and the king of the Roman gods, Aelia Capitolina Jupiter Capitolinus. But when he built a temple to Jupiter on the ruins of a temple of Solomon that was considered sacred by the Jews, they rose in revolt under the leader of Simon Bar-Kochba in what has become known as the Bar-Kochba Revolt. Hadrian became so enraged, he ordered the revolt crushed, sparing no one, not even those too young or too old to have participated. Both the Romans and the Jews lost massive numbers in this war, with the Jewish losses numbering 580,000 by the time the revolt was put down. Over 1,000 towns and villages were destroyed, and if that wasn't enough, Hadrian had the remaining Jewish population banished from the region, and then renamed it Syria Palestina after the traditional enemies of the Jewish people, the Philistines. Hadrian even ordered a public burning of the Torah, executed Jewish scholars, and prohibited the practice of Judaism. After the revolt, Hadrian returned to Rome in failing health and spent his time writing poetry and handling administrative affairs. He named Antoninus Pius as his successor, as long as he in turn adopted the young Marcus Aurelius. In 138 CE, Hadrian died at the age of 62, presumably of a heart attack. He was originally buried on the grounds of the former estate of the rhetorician Cicero, because of Hadrian's love of learning. But after Antoninus Pius finished the great tomb of Hadrian a year later, Hadrian was cremated and interred with his wife and adopted son, Lucius Aelius Caesar, who was the father of Lucius Verus, who co-ruled with Marcus Aurelius for a time. Hadrian was later deified, and temples were built in honor of the man, whose people continue to regard him as highly as ever. Why do you think Hadrian was such a popular emperor? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our new videos published every week. This video was brought to you by World History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. If you like my shirt, you can find this design and a bunch more in our shop at worldhistory.store, or you can find a link for it down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon with another video.